Hey everybody, what is up? It's your friends Corey Camp and Brian McGill back at you with a new What's Up Wednesday. How you doing, Corey?
I'm good. If you hear a little chaos in the background, decided to have 2 kids over for a sleepover yesterday, so now there's 5 kids in the household. They're outside, I think, so we'll be good. But I also have 2 new kittens, Smokey and Bandit, who are quite active in the morning. So you might even see them run across this fireplace this afternoon or this morning. So anyway, other than managing the chaos in my life, Brian, I think I'm pretty good. How about you? You just got back from the Summer Gale conference. A late flight.
Mm-hmm.
How are things?
Well, it's summer, so it's time for sleepovers, golf outings, and getting back together. And I would just say that Jekyll Island this is the first in-person virtual conference. First in-person conference.
Right.
We've been able to attend in the Southeast, and it was amazing. Everybody was really excited to see each other after being apart for an entire year. The Summer Gale community is very busy, and they're very invested in one another. And it was really great to see everybody in Georgia. So I think it was a really remarkable conference, and I think it was really encouraging to see how focused leaders are in the state of Georgia. I think the folks are in really good hands. Based on a lot of the conversations I've had, folks are really implementing a lot of great ideas around teacher leadership in the state of Georgia. The Get Better Faster model, and of course PLC Plus. We can't wait to get together with these folks again for GASIS in Athens, Georgia, for a really exciting presentation with John Hattie and friend of the company, Doug Fisher. So it's going to be really good. We're excited for the state of Georgia. So
you got to go on a golf outing. How did you do? Are you a good golfer, Brian?
I am. Yeah. The short game is a lot better than the long game, but
we would be good partners then, because my short game's not great, but I can drive a ball pretty well.
Well, that was the best part about it. It was like a 4-person scramble, and closest ball. We played the closest ball. We made some new friends, and everybody's skills really complemented one another. One of my teammates from the golf outing won a new golf club for the longest drive.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good.
So that was great. And then, the gentleman that I share the golf cart with, he gave me a lot of tips on my long. So I was actually my long game by the 18th hole was probably where I needed it to be on the first. So
you got some coaching.
That's right. That's right. But I had some short plays that really that brought us close to the pin, kept us on par or under. So I didn't, there was some really good swings out there.
That's awesome. Are you loving being back in person? I mean, you're such a sociable guy. So you love in conference season?
Yes. And the best part of in conference season is Pittsburghers, even in Georgia, get to find each other. So there were a number of Pittsburghers that had moved to Georgia with their terrible towels on their golf clubs. We all got together. That was really great. So awesome. Speaking of, we are back in Pittsburgh today. Actually in Western Pennsylvania, we have a very special guest for the What's Up Wednesday show. I'd like to welcome to the show a good friend of mine. I met her through the Three Rivers Education Technology Conference a number of years ago when she had a big idea for video coaching and how she could better support folks. We're going to talk about that more in a little bit. Welcome to the show, Dr. Rebecca Maddas of California University of Pennsylvania. Hey there.
Hi, Brian. Hi, Corey.
Hi, welcome.
Welcome to the
Brian,
show. Go ahead.
you are so right about Pittsburghers finding each other, because I went all the way to Italy a few years back, and there was a Steeler bar.
That's right. We're everywhere. There's like a website that you can go to. No matter where you are on a Sunday, you can find a Pittsburgher and a Steeler fan anywhere you go. So yeah, that's it's a really tight knit community. So Dr. Maddas, we're here today to kind of talk about how to take a big idea, share some best practices around implementing SIBME, and just kind of things that surprised you. Talk to us a little bit about what got you interested in SIBME, even before or video coaching before we even met.
Before I get into that, do you mind if I just share with everybody about the program a little bit? So I teach at California University of Pennsylvania, which I know can be a little confusing for some people, especially when they Google us and they find that we're not in the state of California.
Me especially.
We are a state school in Pennsylvania, so we're part of the PASHE system. And California, or as we call ourselves, CalU, has had a long history of preparing teachers. We were founded in 1852 as a normal school. So we've been preparing men and women to be teachers for a very long time. And we are a traditional teacher preparation program. However, we have made a lot of changes over the years and include many opportunities for field experience, which is not typical for the traditional teacher preparation program. So we like to get our candidates in the field during freshman year and then throughout the entire program. So we pride ourselves in that. And we have both undergrad and graduate programs from pre-K to 4 all the way to secondary education and special ed, as well as some graduate programs, which is STEM, reading specialist, ESL, and so on. And I think that's just important to share because obviously we serve a lot of different types of students and also teachers at many different levels. So Brian, you asked about what got us interested in video coaching.
So that's an incredible tradition, right? That you guys have here, and it's about innovation, right? So go ahead. Yeah.
So my background in my former life, I was an elementary teacher, a middle level teacher, and also a school principal. And so when I came to CalU, I started supervising student teachers. That's been my main role there. And it was quite different. Supervision is quite different in higher ed versus, working with in-service teachers. And teacher candidates and even new teachers need lots of support. And we know that from research on the developmental stages of teachers, particularly at that level 1 where they're like in survival mode and they need lots of training. And so I found that very difficult as a supervisor because I wasn't on site every day. And I wanted to be able to have enough time with them and more flexibility than just being able to, go into the classroom. And of course, we would get in there at least 4 times during the semester. But I just felt like I needed to be more hands-on. So that was one reason, I thought about video. And video is not new to teacher preparation. I, as a student or a teacher candidate, I had to video my lessons. And that was back in the day when we had to bring the big VHS video recorder, put it on the big tripod. It was so cumbersome and difficult at that time, but now it's so easy. So, I was thinking like, why aren't we doing this? It's so much more easy nowadays to video. So, the other thing that got me interested in it was just helping our teacher candidates see the reality of what was going on in their classroom. Sometimes, they have a hard time getting started. So video, I thought, was a good starting place for them to be able to identify, what is actually going on and where their goals should be headed. So that was the other big piece, was getting the reality of teaching. And of course, reflection was a great component of video coaching. So that's a given. And also we wanted to, as a program and as a department, we wanted to be able to use technology to enhance the professional learning of our candidates. So, and not only that, but meet their needs. And with not just with our undergrad, but our graduate students, we have an online program, which wasn't fully online, but now that we're doing video coaching, that is an option for us. So we just saw video as a way to expand our program as well.
No, that's kind of a next generation technique that made a lot of sense. To keep it, Corey, you got some more on that?
Yeah, no, I think you hit on a lot of the benefits of video coaching and what it can do for a teacher at any stage in their career, but especially as we think about how do we start to bridge the, gap between theory and practice, and how do we help teachers reflect along the way and really build a kind of lifelong career skill of reflection with our beginning teachers, even before they ever become officially a teacher, right? Just in their candidacy, we can do that. So I think it's really powerful. So you had this vision, and you met Brian, and you found Sydney. So then tell me a little bit. One of the things we're focusing on at the beginning as we're getting ready for school to start here is we really want to share our customers' strategic stories, right? What was your strategy as you got started with Sydney to launch this into your program and find some success for yourself, your supervisors, your teacher candidates? Was there anything in particular that you would say that you did that was strategic?
Well, initially going into this, as you mentioned, I met Brian at Tretzi, and I actually was in a session that was talking about how the school district had used video. And Brian was in that session, and that's how we got connected. And as soon as after that day, I just felt like it was kind of a little bit of a whirlwind. So I can't say going in that I had like this, very particular way of going about things. And I am a planner. So of course there was some planning involved, but, I think the first thing in my mind was to start small. Anytime you're rolling something out, I think it's important to maybe just kind of pilot things and see how it goes. So that was the first thing, was just deciding to start small. And so we trained a few supervisors, and we also trained a few of our student teachers at each level, so that we could work with those student teachers and kind of get the feel of the platform, get the feel of how we were approaching our sessions with our candidates. And Corey, you were so helpful through all of that as well, because, obviously you have different protocols and things that you've used and taught us. So that's been helpful. So that was the first thing. And when I say training, of course, Corey provided training for us. But Sydney also has a variety of, they have the Learning Center in their platform. So there's a variety of tools and resources in there for training. And our teacher candidates actually, along with us giving them some guidelines on what they needed, they use the Sydney 101 user training, which is, it's the best thing that you guys have getting started, because anybody that starts to use Sydney in our department or in our program, I just send them right to that training, just so that they can get all their questions asked about the platform. So that's been very helpful to have those on-demand training sessions. So in addition to the training, it was very important for us to consider or anticipate even some of the questions that we might get from partner schools, questions that we might get from students, and so on. So we developed some communication tools, particularly letters that we would give to our professional development schools, so that they understood what we were using video for. We also have permission letters, all sorts of things like that. Information, like infographics for cooperating teachers and mentor teachers so that they can understand how to help their student teacher or their field student. So those things became very important for us in the beginning. And it also helped us to kind of think through the process of how we were going to go about communicating this information, and also some of the protocols that we might use. And another important piece of that was communicating with our administrators and even our solicitors on privacy and confidentiality and things like that. So once we got the go with all of that, then we felt very comfortable in where we were and getting started.
I love hearing this because I'm a big fan of, and of course we support kind of rollouts of all sizes and shapes, but one of my favorites and one of the ones I lean to, especially if an organization is like not completely sure which way to go, is I recommend start small and then, use that snowball effect. But you want to, as you're gaining momentum, still have the flexibility to kind of iterate the process and how the platform and the experience is kind of transforming that experience, that learning experience that you have, right?
Yeah, I mean, we really did get to personalize what we wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And you guys were helpful in that as well. I mean, I know that I've had several conversations about the whole privacy and confidentiality matters and things like that. So, and sharing what maybe other school districts might have done. I know we were probably one of the first universities with you guys, I think. So we were kind of going along with some examples of what school districts were doing. But another thing that I forgot to mention that we did initially as well is acquiring some equipment, and which wasn't a whole lot of things. I mean, obviously the platform, but I found the mini tripods that is suggested on the SIBME website, and also the perch-it that you put on the laptop, right, and some of the devices where you can put your phone or your iPad in and put on the tripod. So those were very helpful. And we did purchase some iPads as well, so that if our candidates needed devices, that those were available for them to, check out of our lab. So
yeah, it's really, because we're device agnostic, and because we meet FERPA and COPPA compliance, folks are able to use the devices that are in their purse or their back pocket. That's exactly what you need for SIBME, and then something to hold it up with. So I hear your strategy was start small and make sure folks felt comfortable. You utilized the SIBME 101 course. We had conversations talking about what that strategic approach would be, and resources that might be helpful as you think about the video coaching process with teacher candidates. And then you really focus on communication about all of this, which I think that is one of the steps that is often missed. And there should be communication at multiple levels to all the stakeholders as far as why we are doing this. Why are we using video? What's the impact of that going to be? What's the big why for that? And then how will video be used in this process so that students and parents and schools and supervisors and teacher candidates, they all really understand the tool, so it decreases any anxiety or questions that might arise out of that. And I think that's a really important thing that you did within your strategy, is just make sure that you had letters and forms and things to cover all your bases as folks got started. You anticipated, and I think that's really, really powerful.
Thank you.
Yeah. Brian.
Oh, I just know that those I think that's like especially important in a state like Pennsylvania, where districts are very they're very interested in systems being used inside their districts. They want to be educated. They want to understand a lot more. So I'm not saying that other districts outside of their states are, but there are multiple stakeholders in a district that are interested in this, for like the teachers that are helping the student teachers, the administration, the technology departments. There's a lot of tiers of folks that we gotta partner with, and I think we learned a lot about how to bring those folks together and get them to understand SIBME, so they get excited about it. And they're not fearful because they don't understand, right? So I guess what were some things that surprised you along the way, Dr. Maddas? Because I think we had some I think we were accomplishing a lot of our big ideas, but there were some surprises too. Sure.
Well, I think the first one has to do with us coming a long way from the VHS recorder, but the efficiency and the ease of use with SIBME was surprising. And I don't know why it was a surprise, but I guess there were some things that we had considered might be issues, but ended up not being issues. For an example, our candidates generally did not have access to Wi-Fi when they were in schools. Like the schools were very, protective of their logins, which I completely understand. So SIBME has allowed us to video without having candidates need Wi-Fi access, which was great because we know with the platform, they can record, and then when they do get into Wi-Fi access, it will automatically upload, which was a beautiful thing for our candidates. The other thing was that they don't have to worry about storage on their devices, and I think that is a worry for other video platforms. So, if they download the app, they can record and it doesn't take up any storage on their device, which is also beautiful. Because we know our students, they live on their phones, and actually mine is now becoming full at the moment. So we don't have any worries about storage, which was great. And also we're able to use the platform across all different types of devices. I can use it on my laptop when I can actually go into the classroom and observe and use it on my laptop. Students can use it on their phones, their iPads, whatever device they want. So the ease of use was, I guess, a surprise for me, and it sold me immediately. Also, Brian, you kind of mentioned PA school districts a little bit earlier, and I was surprised about the school district's willingness to support video to help candidates learn, and only because of privacy and confidentiality. That was our main concern in the beginning, but it has not been a concern now that we've been using it now for about 2 years. Our districts, our partner schools have been very supportive. And I think it's, many of our candidates get jobs in these schools. So I think they see the benefit of our candidates learning that way, because then when they get to, when they, work in their districts, they see that they'll be willing and more open to that way of professional learning. So that's been really great. We've had some school districts that, kind of put a little bit of stipulations on some things in terms of like, if we can just video the candidate or if the candidate can video the whole classroom and things like that. But honestly, we've rolled with the punches through this all, especially with COVID, and it's been great. So, and I think I've learned myself different ways of doing things through that, which has been nice to, and kind of refreshing, teaching you like new ways of doing things. Another, I guess, I don't want to call it a surprise, but SIBME is always evolving. So every time I meet with you guys for checkpoints or, just whatever we're meeting for, I've learned something new from you guys, or you always have something coming down the pike. So that's always a nice surprise every time, we meet and you have something new for us. And of course, you're always asking what we need and learning from us. So, I'm sure if I mentioned something like, hey, could you tweak this? Like the next week, it would probably be done, which is also great. So I like those little surprises every time I talk with you guys. And another surprise, I guess, personally for me is how my coaching and supervision has evolved. I found myself developing new procedures and new protocols for the ways I do supervision and coaching. And, of course, that's thanks to you, Corey, for some of your trainings that you've provided on those things. But, just me getting more interested in how to do those things and researching myself. So I found my coaching and supervision has evolved. And I've also been able to change my supervision and coaching with teacher candidates in a way that I found has helped candidates cut through because of the videos, helped candidates cut through the perceptual errors. I'm able to now use different types of coaching. For example, like dialogical coaching versus directive coaching, because our candidates are able to see the reality of what's going on, and they're able to reflect by watching the video and noticing things that are actually happening rather than just kind of perceiving things that might actually not be really happening. So when I go into, especially that first meeting with them, when I go in there, they really tend to be like on point with, what didn't go so well, versus, oh, well, I think this happened, or I think I did a good job. So I've just found that I'm able to use different approaches with them, which is great, because typically with a teacher candidate, and in a teacher prep program, you're using more of a directive approach with them, because you assume that they don't have the skills to perform the strategies well enough, right? So that was surprising to me, and also a benefit, which I was hoping to get from this. And then just, I found some pedagogical implications with using video. Now that we're using video, we're not just using it for observing, we're using it for micro teaching. So of course, for viewers that don't know what that is, that's our candidates, they're video recording their teaching, and then their peers are viewing the video and providing feedback. So they're learning from each other. Goal setting. We've been doing goal setting for a long time, but now that Sydney has the goal setting feature, we're hoping to use that. And, online teaching demonstrations, analysis of student work. There's been all sorts of implications with video. I mean, we've done some of those things, but now that video, we're doing the video, it's allowing us to do things a little bit differently, which is nice. So lots of surprises.
I love hearing all those, and talking about the analysis of student work. I don't know if we may not have it on in your account yet. It's being turned on in everyone's account in the next few weeks, but we've been turning it on a case by case basis. So let me know if we need to turn this on in your account. Sure. But we have document commenting, which just came out. And that allows a student can upload an image or a PDF of a student work product, or even just a document, like the Word document. And now, in addition to being able to view that inside Sydney, like we've always been able to do, you can actually annotate just like you can on videos. So you can, highlight certain elements of the student work product and then leave feedback, add those questions, those ideas. Eventually you'll be tagging frameworks with that. So I think it takes that robust experience of being able to break down, the live part of instruction to some of those more background pieces, those supporting evidence, supporting documents that go with that instruction around student outcomes and learning products and in the planning and preparation. So I can't wait to hear how that kind of adds to the experience for y'all at CalU.
Yeah, me too. And again, this is a perfect example of what I'm saying is every time I meet with you guys, there's something new with the platform, which is great. So appreciate that.
Definitely. So then what advice as we kind of wrap up today, what advice would you give to folks who this is their first year, their higher ed, this is their first year getting started with Sydney? What would be your advice to them?
Well, I think the first thing, when you're getting started is obviously you need training, and I would take advantage of all of the trainings that you guys have to offer. Whether it's, synchronous training with you, Corey, or whether it's on-demand trainings. When I get some free moments, which is very little, but, when I'm in the platform, I like to get in there and go in the Learning Center and just search for different, topics, just, to learn new things. So definitely take advantage of the trainings, and definitely regularly meet with, Brian and Corey and Jenny and whoever your team is for the checkpoints, because I find the checkpoints are very informative and they're very helpful in getting questions answered and things like that. So those are two main things as far as advice goes in terms of getting started. But as I mentioned earlier, I would say take the plunge. Don't feel like you have to have everything set, but like, as I mentioned earlier as well, like start small. And I think that will be helpful for working out the kinks and things like that, because that was very helpful for us. And then once you have the training, I think it's important to get your ducks in a row as far as the communication piece. So, trainings, working on the communication on, how you're going to communicate this with your partner schools, how you're going to communicate this with your faculty and with your students. And I know some schools, especially school districts, but even at the higher ed level, it's important to have, I'm calling them guidelines, but, I want to say policies. Policies are a little different because they have to be, voted on and things like that. But, some schools will develop policies. So I think that's important to prepare guidelines and policies for how you will communicate this information and what it means for your faculty and your students. So that's my advice. Take advantage of the trainings, start small, and get those initial communications prepared.
That's great advice, and I'm glad you brought up all the on-demand trainings too, because we're always adding new trainings to that particular area. We're always adding new webinars to that as well. Something to mention. We have an on-demand virtual conference every year now, the Better Together virtual conference. So there might even be a breakout session somewhere in there that you might find beneficial. So, and it's not just learning. Those on-demand sessions in the Learning Center aren't just made by the SIMI PD team. Some of the learning is passed on by other subscribers. So that's one of the really exciting things about this community, is that everybody is contributing to everybody's learning. Great stuff, Dr. Maddas. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. Looking forward to another exciting year at California University and our partnership with you here at SIDME. We look forward to seeing you guys in your kickoff meeting for the 21-22 school year. So look forward to it all. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
See you guys.
See you soon. She's wonderful.
All right. Yeah, she is. And really, she talked about that small pilot and just kind of iterating what she was doing and communicating with, all the stakeholders. I can't emphasize that communication enough. And then just that readiness for the flexibility that you might have, because again, like some folks get in there and they're like, "Ooh, my vision was a little bit bigger than where my reality is right now, and it will take a little bit more time." While others will get in there and say, "My vision was too small." Like there are bigger and greater things that we can begin doing with this, and we can do it this way. And so again, that's the benefit of having our professional learning team be able to kind of be your thought partner and think with you about those things and help you identify and prioritize some of those pieces of your vision. So yeah, definitely good folks to collaborate with as they are looking at how they are transforming learning for teacher candidates. So pretty great stuff. Well, Brian.
I'd like to remind our subscribers to like us and follow us wherever you're social. Like us and follow us at Sydney App on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube. We'll see you for a new What's Up Wednesday episode next week. See you out there.
All right. Bye, everyone.